The Declaration of Rights for Indigenous People, also known as DRIP, was a document written for Indigenous people. It was created by the United Nations because Indigenous people were still not being treated equally
around the world. Our video is a kid-friendly version of many of the articles in the DRIP document.
Article 1.
All Indigenous people have the right to be happy and have the right to freedom.
As a group or as a single self.
All human rights must be followed as shown in Charter of the United Nations, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and International Human Rights Law.
Article 2. Indigenous people are free and equal to others.
They should not be treated unfairly based on their indigenous identity or origin.
Article 3. Indigenous people have the right to have their own government and laws.
They have the right to be economic. Economic means the indigenous people get to pick where their money should go and what they do with it.
They should have the right to live free.
Article 6. Indigenous people have the right to say that they are from their own culture.
Article 7. Indigenous people have the rights for freedom, peace, and security.
They shall have no violence.
The children cannot be taken away and put into another group.
They should have the right to life.
Article 9. The indigenous people belong to their tribes, family, and friends. They cannot be discriminated against for being indigenous.
Article 10. Indigenous people should not be forced off their land. Indigenous people should not be relocated and be able to move freely. They should be paid for their land or have the right to return.
Article 11. Indigenous people have the right to practice and believe their own traditions, beliefs, and customs. They have the right to live like they did in the past, live like they did in the present and the future. They have the right to protect their culture.
Article 12. Indigenous people have the right to practice their customs and beliefs in privacy.
They also have the right to keep their sites safe. If someone starts digging up their burial sites,
they have the right to move it into a safe place and to remain protected.
Article 13. The indigenous people have the right to use, develop, and transmit to future generations languages, histories, traditions, and philosophies. The indigenous people also were allowed to generate names from communities and people.
States and communities should make sure and protect their land. They should understand and be understood to political and legal groups.
Article 14.
Indigenous peoples have the right to control their education for their children in a manner appropriate to their methods of teaching and learning.
Indigenous individuals, mostly children, have the right to all levels and forms of education of the state without being treated any differently than anybody else.
Article 15. Indigenous people should have the rights to learn their cultures, tradition, and history. States should accept the indigenous people as citizens with equal rights. They should not be forced to do anything they don't want to do. They should be able to open businesses and get the right amount of money for what they sell.
They should be able to visit other states or countries and should be able to come back. They should not be punished for celebrating ceremonies from their own cultures. People should understand them and help when the indigenous people need it and should listen to their concerns. Article 18. Indigenous people have the right to act in their own decisions that they make in their own matters, which affect the rights by choosing their own representatives chosen in their own to maintain indigenous decision-making
institutions.
Article 24, Indigenous Medicines, by Cooper and Ivan. They didn't get the medicine and material they believed in or even enough food to eat. They got their rights back. They didn't get high quality medicine, and now they have the right to have it.
Article 25 by Madeline and Tayshawn. Indigenous people have a relationship with their land, otherwise occupied and owned land.
They need water, coastal seas, and other resources to uphold responsibilities to future generations.
This is Article 26. Indigenous people have the right to have their own land and be able to improve it and to protect it. Everybody who is allowed to live on the land can, but must help improve it.
Like by planting new food and new trees. Also, Indigenous people have the right to control their own land and other things they traditionally owned.
Article 31.
Indigenous people have the rights to believe what they want to believe.
They can speak their own language and can also hunt and fish when they want to.
They also have the rights to protect their land and their people.
Article 32.
Indigenous people have the right to build what other people can build.
They are allowed to get minerals, water, and other things.
They have the right to cooperate with the government
the same way we do.
Article 44. Freedom is recognized, equally guaranteed to male and female.
This map shows where some Indigenous people live now. This video was made to help all Indigenous people become equal in land and allow them to practice their beliefs, customs, and traditions.